The final speaker for this panel is Gary Bear from Caterpillar, and I'm happy to welcome.
Thank you. All right, so thanks for having me here today. I came along with my supervisor so he could see that I wasn't just blowing off the morning. You guys asked me to attend. I said, there's 2 opportunities to speak, so why don't you come too? Anyway, I've been at CAT I just celebrated 29 years. Proud to say that I started out as a fork truck driver and worked my way up to the point where there's days where I think, really, I can make that decision. And so it's all been pretty cool working for the greatest company in the world and in the area. I want to talk to you today a little bit about our people strategy. And it's actually kind of neat that I get to follow the speakers because I think what I'm going to say, while brief, is a little more direct, but in support of everything we've already talked about. So this is our Caterpillar work philosophy. To maintain and enhance a positive working environment that fosters and encourages direct management-employee interaction. The LEC is strongly committed to a management program that requires all employees to work together. So as we talk about people, going through the next couple of slides, it's all in support of this philosophy. So it's not just words on a piece of paper. So we start out with a 3-legged stool. And actually what we're looking for in people as we bring them in is what will this person become over their career? When I have new employees working for me, almost as soon as they start, one of the first things I do is sit down with them and ask them what they want to do next. And this is at the beginning of their time with me. So it's a little surprising to them because they say, well, are you trying to get rid of me or what? But no, I mean, the procurement area is a tough job. I don't know why anybody would want to do it for more than 2 or 3 years. In addition to the fact that in supply chain anyway, we've done a really good job of hiring a lot of all-stars. We're what our HR group calls a hard hire, and we'll talk about that. So I want to know, I don't expect you to be in this position for more than a couple of years, so let's find out what you want to do next and start grooming you in that direction. We want to know what their potential is, right? We can find that out from talking to them. Hopefully some of that came out earlier. And then also what they do well. So those are the 3 legs of our stool. We're going to test them for knowledge, and we're going to assess for capability. So it sounds pretty simple, right? And then we're going to interview them for our experience, which, we talked about the stars earlier. For the students, please keep that in mind because that is very, very important as you'll see when we go through the next couple of slides. So what are we looking for as far as Caterpillar goes? Well, we call it bench strength. I was on board with somebody earlier until they referenced the 3 Colts that are no longer with the Colts. And I'm not sure about their bench strength anymore. But, you'll hear us talk about the next person up. And a Colt analogy also. They always said that, right? When somebody was hurt, who's the next person up? That's the same thing we look for. If somebody's out, who's the next person up? If somebody has an opportunity for a promotion, I'm okay with that. Who's going to step up? Who's the next person? So we're looking for that. We're looking for our bench strength. Who's the next Gary Smith? Who's the next me? Who's the next leaders for our company? I've been, like I said, with Caterpillar for 29 years, and I think I'm going to work another 10. My wife says 20. I'm saying 10. So, and I want a nice retirement. So I'm also looking for that bench strength. The next 2 may conflict a little bit, but we want somebody that's a little humble, and we'll get a little bit more into that in the next slide. But I want you to be humbly confident, right? Right. So you'll hear me, or Gary hears me a lot talk about being proactively reactive, because in the procurement area we're reactive. So in his talk this morning, he talked about reacting. Well, we have to be proactively reactive. I want you to be humbly confident. We also need you to be coachable and have a willingness to learn. And we heard that earlier from the earlier speaker. Your willingness to learn. Don't come in. I have 3 boys, 28, 25, and 23. I didn't realize till a few weeks ago that we don't use phone books anymore. that have Google on your smartphone for a reason. When I asked the question, it was apparently too hard to say, I don't have a phone book. I had to give a lecture for 15 minutes on how to use my phone. And then we need you to take the willingness to take risk, right? So don't be afraid. Most of the jobs I've had have consisted of somebody coming up and tapping me on the shoulder and said, hey, why don't you try this? You know, I've had a lot of good mentors. And honestly, if I limited my career at CAT to those things that I knew about before I took the job, I'd still be on the fourth track. So typically what happens is, here's the desk, knock yourself out. And I like that. So, you know, we're also looking for that. And of course, leadership. You know, that kind of goes back to everything. We want you to be the leader. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean come in right away and say, okay, I got this. You know, but I mean, you can lead in different ways. And then somebody mentioned internships earlier. That is very, very important. I mean, we look for that when we talk to students. What experience do you have? Did you spend your summer at McDonald's, or did you spend your summer, you know, doing something that you could really apply? So we can't emphasize enough, if you have an opportunity for an internship, you need to take advantage of that. Now, before I leave that slide, the next one's going to sound like a real, for lack of a better term, a real buzzkill. Because while we're looking for all these things, I'm just going to give you a real honest perspective on what we see. Since last fall, I guess, we've been over here several times at the Industrial Roundtable, at the job fairs. We've had thousands of resumes and a lot of people in. I just had an intern start that was one of the best interviews I ever had. She has zero procurement experience, but she blew us all away with the interview. I mean, she was phenomenal. And she's come in and she's really just hit the ground running. She's done a really good job. So this is what we see. And I hope I don't hurt any feelings. Please take this for what it's worth and from the experience that we all have. So I softened that up a little bit, the perception of work and reward. What I had before was entitlement. And I'm not a big fan of participation trophies. You either won or you didn't win. And just because you played, you don't get a trophy. And so I think we have some opportunities relative to the perception of work and reward. The fact is, some of you just aren't that good, right? But that doesn't mean you're not coachable. And we've had some that the first time you sat down with them, employees, and said, okay, so you didn't do so great in this area. The first reaction is, well, what do you mean? I mean, I got a trophy, right? So you have to have kind of a realistic approach to the perception of work and reward. Technical classroom experience, not practically applied. That kind of goes back to the internship. You can be really book smart, but you got to know how to use that. You know, you got to know how to take that formula and say, okay, now I get it. And this is something that I've seen a lot in interviews. Probably others have too. You ask for, using the STAR process, you ask for a scenario. You know, give me an example of your leadership. And we hear, well, I was in a class. I was put in a group. One person was disengaged. There was no leader. I led. I talked to the person. We received a good grade. Okay. And really, we hear that a lot. Now, in defense of the students, you may not have any other opportunities. That may be it. So I'm not saying that's not a good example. What I'm saying is, tell me more. You know, how did you do it? What did you do to go about? I mean, what role did you play? You obviously had some leadership skills, you know, and certainly a good grade is a good motivator. But tell me more, so you can make something out of that example. Students are not sure what to expect at roundtables, job fairs, and other meet and greet functions. And I think we heard that earlier. You know, I can only speak for us. I can't speak for other companies, but you have very limited amount of time to impress us. You know, you have, minutes. And we'll have students that will come up and you go up to talk to them and they'll say, well, I'm going to be the best leader Caterpillar ever had. Well, you know what? He said the same thing, so what else you got, right? So I think it's important to us as leaders, as mentors, as parents, as instructors to help the students understand that in that short period of time, and in fact, I even heard somebody from the university on the news the other night talking about this very thing, saying you have a very small window, to get in there and get somebody's attention. And then they're also more than just an outlet for a resume issuance. So that's your window, that's your opportunity. And we may take your resume at the job fair, mark it as high potential, and have a follow-up interview, but that doesn't mean you're in. I mean, that follow-up interview you still have to come in ready with examples. Even if you haven't had an internship, you've got other opportunities. I have the privilege of teaching over here once in a while, and one of the things that I teach is Six Sigma. And so the 40% of the students' grade is a course project, Six Sigma project. And in fact, I tell them, you give me your topic and I will help you be successful. We go through each phase of the process. And at one of the first classes, almost universally, well, in the fall I teach working professionals, so that's easy. In the spring, it's traditional grad students. And you'd be surprised at how many raise their hand and say, I don't have any processes. And you go, really? You don't get up in the morning? You don't go to class? You don't exercise? The fact is there are plenty of examples that the students can use to get their point across, to show us that, okay, I am motivated. I do have leadership skills. I can do this. I can do that. So this is our perspective. It's a Caterpillar perspective. We know that Purdue has a ton of potentials. There's a lot of good employees out there, and we want them. But we have to help them do the right thing, say the right thing, be trained in the right areas in order to get their foot in the door for us. So thank you very much.